Welcome back. You're watching Daybreak on Citizen Television, and thank you for staying with us. Keep your feedback coming. The hashtag on Twitter is Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, at Ayub Abdikadir, at Safin_Acheng. We are now talking to Mirigo Kinyanjui, who is the author of Crossroad Legend, the book she titles that, and the story of an African girl in the United States of America, her kindness to an heir apparent who was a billionaire. This happening in the United States of America. Mirigo, good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for making time. All appreciated. Tell us more about, before we delve deeper into the story of Mirigo Kinyanjui, tell us more about the idea and the drive behind Crossroad Legend.
Thank you, Ayub. It's interesting because I don't think I'm the first one to experience this, but most of us, it all came about when we experienced COVID. All of us, it was a very traumatizing moment, and we didn't know how to deal with ourselves in the COVID. And as a mama, everyone worries about their children, what will happen, because it's not sparing anyone. Are we all going to die? And it was a very scary moment for me. And true to the word, I got COVID. And fortunately, when I talked to my doctor, he said, okay, because now you can confine yourself at home.
Okay.
It's okay, you can just confine yourself for 14 days.
Okay.
Before coming out again.
You contracted the virus while in the United States?
Here in Kenya. In my house. Okay, I don't know where.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't clear where you got your COVID. But I got COVID. And then I needed to confine for 14 days.
Okay.
And in the 14 days, it was such a long time for an entrepreneur, someone who is used to going out every day. And I told my daughter, how will I survive these 14 days? But I feel a story in my head. I think I should write. Okay,
that story, because I'm looking at the synopsis of the book and the bibliography of how this kindness came about. You talked about the coronavirus pandemic, a time when the world had to cope with a crisis that more or less had stretched the capacity and resources of governments across the world, the shutdown of cities that were no longer lively as they used to be, in New York, in Rome, even religious sites like Jerusalem, in Mecca, and also parts of Beijing in Asia. But I just want to understand, because here is a story that you have detailed about Mirigo Kinyanjui in the book, studying at a university in the United States of America. You have detailed her kindness, offering an assistance to a classmate whose visa had failed. You talk about your situation and contracting the virus, this leading to a confinement of 14 days, about 2 weeks before doctors give you the go-ahead to go about your other activities, since it was one that was basically based on not getting in contact with people. But after the pandemic then, that is the period within which this idea came all about, and then now we have a book set for launch next week on Wednesday.
Yes, and then after now I was unwell. I decided, okay, I'm not a politician, I'm not known in this country, but maybe I'm known to a few people.
Okay.
And for those who know me, they know me because of Inca's Health, and a company that used to do Whole Foods. And I thought, okay, what would I put down so that generations down the line can read about Mirigo? And when I started, and my daughter told me, just start something, write a book. And when I was writing it, I told my house girl, okay, just put for me some green teas for me to be taking when I'm writing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she didn't understand, and she mixed for me green teas like chamomile, like hibiscus, green tea, all of them together. With COVID, you can't smell, you can't taste.
Yeah.
And so eventually, I could not sleep. That took, in 10 days, I had written 700 pages. And my husband told me, do you know you don't sleep? He took me back to hospital. And the doctor said, okay, if this happens to you, you are very high in caffeine. Okay. And you need to take long walks, otherwise you are going to freak. And true to the word, I freaked. And I was taken to hospital. And I had to go through the protocol of the mad people. And I told them, I think I know my problem. My problem is sleeping, and they were able to contain me. And I continued with my book. And I said, you know, these things that are happening to me are happening to many people.
Yes.
And what I want to give people is real life experience. This is not a fiction book. This is a book with real stories, life stories. And I said, one of the things that people never forget is a story. Ayub, if I met you today and you gave me a story about your family, I'll not forget. All any experience you've had about life. And that's how I came up with the Crossroads Regents, where now I said, okay, I will revolve the story around Wairimu and the grandmother. And love comes in, and all the things that people would resonate to in this life. So that's what this book is about.
Okay. And the contact point of Wairimu Ndegwa and the billionaire heir apparent whose visa cut failed. I mean, that must be an interesting one and a captivating read for anyone, a gripping, may I say. How did that story start all about?
It started from our African story, whereby we don't have much, and we are brought up in an average home where, maybe me, I don't know about you, Ayub, but you're African and you understand that you are brought up with your cousins, you are brought up with your brothers, you are brought up with friends, and every little thing that you had to share, whether it was enough or not. And in most cases, like in our times, there wasn't much. And so we had a lot to share. And within the context of sharing, we had no TVs, we had nothing. It's only chores. You wake up, maybe my brothers would go to Grace, maybe us would help our mothers with the homestead chores, anything, even cultivating. Then you would go to fetch water, and all this time we interacted, and we had a relationship that bond you can't break, unless in town where I'm sure you don't know your neighbor. I also don't know my neighbor, maybe, because there are environments that people don't want to know each other. And that's where that was the base of Wairimu, being able to help the Muslim boy who turned out to be the deskmate, who had a language barrier, and he could not communicate. And so he didn't know who to ask for anything. And even Wairimu thought he was a snob. That happens all the time, that you meet someone who doesn't talk to you and you think they are arrogant, but they have a language barrier, they are not able to communicate to you. So that was the basis that, yes, we don't have much, but we have enough. Everyone has enough. If you are kind enough, you can assist, or your elevator pitch can move someone from A to B. So, yeah.
And then the context, because there has been a debate about the contributions made by Africans when they go to Europe or the United States of America, and the perfect picture of you creating the Wairimu Ndegwa story, because they work in care homes, they nurse the old people within the population or the demography. But then, what path did Wairimu's kindness, because of the language barrier, thereafter then helping the gentleman with paying of the bills, what did that lead to? What was the result? What was the outcome?
Okay, when I put Wairimu as the image, I want to put anyone who has ever touched your life. And not only in abroad, even here. Maybe you have a house girl, your wife has a house girl, but you find that sometimes we just see them as a partner in monetary. I don't see that house girl as a mother to my children, because 10 hours of the day, she's the one in charge of my child. So when you lock that fridge and give that maid some bread there and tea to have for lunch, and fruits for your baby and a full course for your baby, what do you expect? She can feed on that food anyway. So it's that path where, as much as we are different, it doesn't mean we are not human. And people should start appreciating that any human, if you can treat a dog better than a human, you don't know, maybe I'm a reincarnation, I'm your grandmother, whose wealth you are enjoying today. So how would we appreciate that journey of us being a family, despite being your worker or you being my boss? Yeah, maybe that's what I'm trying to depict.
Okay, and given that you more or less painted the picture of how important kindness is, and more or less that is the driving factor of the story that you are giving us. I mean, is the society appreciative, the contemporary society, of appreciating the human endeavor of talking about issues, knowing your neighbor. You talked about earlier on, because of our setup within the context of the city, for example, in modern life, it isn't easy for you to mingle easily with your neighbor. There seems to be conservativeness that is creeping in. Is this eroding our African values that previously were held by our parents and grandparents of value and helping each other with issues, solving problems, coming together under a tree at night?
It is. And somehow this book has talked about getting back to our roots. And it's not only addressing the love between Jamal, the Muslim boy, and the African girl. It's also addressing serious issues of indigenous, what we have experienced as women. And one of the most intriguing story in it is about an antagonist called Watul. And this guy is a Kushite, we say the Somali look. You guys, you're very handsome. You have all the looks. And so this guy was abandoned in the village after the dad died. And he was not known where he came from. But he was very good. He never married in this village. And he was organizing men not to take responsibility when they are not ready to marry. That happens. Maybe if we spot a youth back, maybe you have a baby when you are 17 or 18 somewhere, because you are a man and you are ready to be a man. But he prepared them. No, you can't take responsibility. And you see the journey of Wairimo's mom, what she went through after rejection, and how even the family want to adapt to especially the father. You're not going to get married, you're not going to study. And she was an A student. So what happened? The father wants her married off because she has a baby. And the mother fights. No, we must give her a chance. And she organizes with the brother, and Wairimo's mother goes to the United States. And she's forced to go with the son. And Wairimo is left in the village later when she got a baby. Again, in that context, is to show how a woman can be loyal. Even after betrayal, she came back and got another pregnancy from the same man who didn't marry her. So it's that woman. Sometimes the pain we go through, unauliza dada yako, what do you do in this marriage? Because she suffers so much. But a woman can be loyal. A woman is determined to make sure that her family has a home and they are brought up in the best way possible. And there is that. There is also that journey of that woman. There is also journey. There is something I've talked there about time travel. Time travel is not anything we have ever experienced. No one has left our universe and come back. But we believe anything that we don't understand, maybe like the Malaysia, we don't know where it went. It never came back. But I just put that time travel to depict the phases in life that we lose ourselves. There is a time you can lose yourself even for 10 years. Unauliza, what happened between year 2000 and 2010. I don't remember what was with me. Because maybe you had aspiration, you had given yourself target, you said, this is the time I'm going to get married, I'm going to get a home, and before I get married, I'll do ABCD. Then you find yourself, you've married, you're still in a rental house. Even 2010, when you had a target you never met. So it's all that journey I want people to walk in this book. And as they walk in the journey, they relate with the characters that are involved and see. It's a book that will talk to you, and you'll talk to the book. It's a book you refer to the way you refer to a dictionary or a Bible or a Quran, or a book that excites you, so that every time you're able to find yourself. Kenyans or everyone want a motivational book where I'll be told what to do. But unfortunately, life doesn't have a blueprint. You are the one to create your own world, and that world has to keep drifting at whichever stage in life. Like now, what were my needs when I was 30 years? It's different when I'm 50. So it's all that journey. I want you to walk through this book, real life experiences, and you see where you fit in and what you can do for yourself to better your life. Okay, and having mentioned that, there is the concept of cross-culture, and appreciating Kenya is now a secular state. We have a cocktail of more than 42 communities, different cultures, and then we have different religions. And you talk about the love despite the barrier, the language barrier of the Muslim man and Wairimo. I mean, in the contemporary Kenyan setup, where is the thin line between love, religion,
and culture, because there are people who agree on common terms that an endeavor to pursue as a union, family, for example, but there comes in the cultural barrier. The same, and then comes in the religion barrier, the religious barrier. I mean, how do they address? Because it's humanity that one person sees, the character, the kindness, but there are two very glaring issues that they will either see as a challenge here.
It is a challenge in the sense that everyone believes they were brought up in the best environment. If I'm a Christian, you can't tell me Muslim is a better life than a Christian. When you're Muslim, that's all the life you know, because that's how you are brought up, and there are values that are brought forward by a religion, there are values that are brought forward by culture, and we can't ignore them. Unfortunately, we are now in a global village where most of the things or these cultures will start taking a backseat very soon, or they have. Because when your daughter is out there and she knows being a Christian, she'll not be ready to marry a Muslim, most of the time they detach themselves from family. You try to reach your child, you come to reach them when they have a family of 3 or 5 settled, and now you can't change them. And I think as parents, it's when now religions start interacting more, which they have started to interact more and see whether the values they have really can fit in both arenas. That I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, especially on the book I've just talked about the 3. I know we have more, and agnostic, people who don't believe in anything. But all together they are humans. And as a parent, if today my son decides he'll be a Muslim, I'll not disown him. He's my baby. As much as the family will tell him, you know, if you've taken that path, you know, if a Muslim decides to become a Christian, everyone may disown them. But as a parent, as much as you feel deep inside you've been betrayed, you may not disown your child. And that's why we are saying all this, it's a discussion that needs to be more on our tables, so that when that happens, we don't feel betrayed, or we don't feel that it's not normal. It should be normal for people to start believing in whatever culture they choose. I may be Kikuyu, but I see your culture and I say, you know what? I'll live like the way Buddhists live. This is their life. I'll start following their path. So it's okay. And it's a time parents start to become sober about it. Like maybe our generation is the last generation that will be rigid on every avenue. But going forward, we are also trying to be flexible.
The watchword here is humanity. And issues relating to the human cause outweigh other issues, and decisions often made by adults in a secular setup like ours must be appreciated. And the book also highlights, because if flipping through the pages and reading the synopsis and the bibliography, clearly talks about the question of not rushing to a conclusion to judge any entity or person based on their outlook, their manner of communication, and rather focusing on what you can do with other individuals to have a better world. Typically the story of Wairimu and the Muslim billionaire heir apparent.
Jamal.
Jamal, who despite their differences in languages, of course you doubt at times when, and there's the presumption that creeps in when someone doesn't speak and has weird character, but he has no form of communication whatsoever, but turns out to be the best person you have ever interacted with. Is it time that we also source out the presumptions that we hold against certain cultures, religions, and persons because of their outlook and religious or cultural belonging?
Thank you. It's a very intriguing question. And one of the things that have happened to Jamal, having been the billionaire boy he is, something, when Wairimu vanished or went for time travel, Jamal literally lost his mind and he could not cope. The family tried to persuade him to get married because they were not sure whether Wairimu would come back, but promised when Wairimu is back, we'll still let you marry Wairimu. And one of the reasons many kids, like now the topic that was ahead of me was about alcoholism, drugs, and what have you. Most of the reasons that have led our children to this is actually parenting. because parents, we are not able to interact with our children. I remember one time my son was in a Turkish school.
Yeah.
And the headmaster called us and told us, you know what, kids are here for tuition, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Come for your kids on Friday, stay with your kids. And as Africans, we were all up in arms, and we told him, no, we can't come for our kids. We are a busy community, we are busy, we can't have kids for weekend and back to school. And he waited for us. He told us, you know, you're one very peculiar community. Everywhere else I've traveled in this world, people are happy to have their children. He told us, you people, you have your children for 2 weeks every holiday. That's about 6 weeks or 1 month in 1 year.
Okay.
Is that your child? You're calling your child your investment. Is that your child or just a person you're raising or paying bills for? And it's that I want to demystify, that most of us, we don't know our children. We don't interact with them. We want them out there with the teacher. And that's why when your child finds refuge, and you find such a girl who can tame your boy, who can make your boy have a family and lead a normal life. And you can see Jamal's family saying, we were very impressed that when Jamal left and his card didn't work, he didn't call back home for help.
Okay.
He looked for that help. And Wairimu helped Jamal see the other side of the world where he's not fed on a silver spoon. He had to struggle and make things happen for him.
Thank you. And the kindness and the generosity that accompanied. And Mirigo Kinyanjui's book, Crossroad Legend, will be launched next Wednesday, 8th of February.
Yes.
At the National Theatre.
At the National Theatre. I have authored other books.
Yes.
Actually, I've done 4, which will follow much later in 2 weeks. One of them is called My Second Name.
Okay.
My Second Name is addressing who is the legitimate child. Because most of us just assume sio mtoto wangu because they turned brown or they are dark. And the other one is called My Second Name. It's a book addressing the genesis of gays and lesbians. The third one is a book called Transition. Can we make a will that makes sense? After your parent has given you half of his wealth, after he's long gone, can you sit to the family and decide what everyone will inherit from the wealth, so that then we don't have a situation whereby, yes, you earned, but your family is disconnected by the other families, but you will forever be a family.
Thank you so much, Mirigo Kinyanjui, for your time and company here on the broadcast. We look forward to next week, by the grace of God, on the 8th of February at the National Theatre. And we thank you for making time here on the broadcast and expounding more on the book.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
And thank you to you too for watching the broadcast. And the conversation continues. Up next is Health and Lifestyle with Willis Raburu. He will be talking about cervical cancer vaccine with Dr. Kireki Omanwa, who is in studio with us. And we thank you for waking up with us here on the broadcast Daybreak. The hashtag on Twitter has been Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya, at Ayub Abdikadir, and of course my colleague at Safin_Achieng. We do this again this week on Friday by the grace of God. Till then, thanks for watching. Good morning.